Cathedral Square improvement works. That went to the Infrastructure Committee. Pauline, would you like to introduce that?
It's been through our committee. This is for the works for stage 1, or phases 1 to 3, and it's really for amenity, accessibility and enhancement for the works, and it's around the south, west and southeast ends of the square. And one of the challenges discussed at the committee meeting was, ensuring that the square remains open for business throughout these works. A lot of it will involve paving and some artistic works with cultural references in that paving. It's good to see a lot of the materials will be recycled, up to around 50% are recycled from existing materials, so that's going to be a good cost saving there. The budget's around 3.6 million. The consultation has pretty much been done through Regenerate Christchurch, so there's no real need to do that. However, with phase 4 will involve consultation, because that will have traffic implications. So we had good discussion about this. It's mainly public realm improvement. It will actually really add huge value to this area, and also with the links through to the laneways through Hereford Street at the moment, and all the work that we're going to do on Hereford Street. It's just going to be really, really a big step up. So, yeah, this came through the committee perfectly fine.
So you'd like to move that?
Happy to move it.
And do I have a seconder? Sarah? Yanni?
So I get that this work needs to happen, but when I look at the Regenerate plan and the plan that we've now got, it's significantly different, and yet we're told in the report that the consultation happened through the Regenerate process. So I'm still trying to understand, given the significant difference, why we haven't engaged the public around this plan, given how important Cathedral Square is to the community.
People got staff here to answer that, because...
Dave?
I can probably answer that question. What we've done is, obviously we've got quite a bit of activation of that space around the distinction around the front of OGB. Oh, here we go. Here's the detail. We're looking at programming the thing for the activation around the Spark building at this point in time. So we've done detailed consultation. Because of the limit of funding, we haven't integrated as much as we can of the principles of that earlier consultation that Regenerate did. And so that's why you'll find things like the phase 1, where you've got the kind of border and things like that, some of the patterns and some of the green spaces. So we've integrated some of those concepts to do it, and moving forward to get a solution that's in time. I'm not sure exactly the time, but now that we've got the project manager here, he'll be able to fill in the timing of that.
Right, so I think the question was about alignment between this, and I mean, we know that it's not going to deliver the whole of the plan, but it was to align with the strategy that had been done by Regenerate Christchurch.
Correct. It's a measured and pragmatic approach. We've only got probably 10% of the budget that Regenerate were originally looking at. I think it was an $180 million square and surrounds budget, so obviously we've been pragmatic. We do deliver the key flavours, and we do test the key principles in terms of the Putama pattern, the greening of those spaces. So it does, in our terms, and on our conversations with all the stakeholders, have led us to the design you see in front of us. So it is a measured response to the project we've been asked to deliver.
Right. So just two further questions. So the green garden concept is basically, that's now off the table. That won't happen in the future. So the traffic is going to go where it's going to go, right?
Correct, yeah. As
per what we currently have.
Yep.
And there's no, so just to confirm, yeah, so that green space, the big green space is garden type, is gone. And the second clarification was, we're not going to come back in the future and spend more money on the site as part of the region plan. This is the money that we're spending for this part of Cathedral Square. It's not anticipated that, in 5 years' time, we're doing another plan and we're digging it up and moving it.
Yeah, this is a durable solution. I can't see, these are permanent materials we're putting in. The use of the Cathedral Square might change in time, or how in terms of placemaking, but these will be permanent materials. So it'll have a long lifespan.
Dion?
Yeah, sorry I haven't picked this up before, but in phase 3 we're not. It doesn't look like we're using or bringing in that the pattern on the paving.
Blue.
The pattern that's on the regen plan, which is going in phase 1. In phase 2. Why is that not going into phase 3? Excuse me.
Do you want to go first, John?
There's a difference on the eastern side of Cathedral Square. The paving is really damaged, so that needs to be replaced. So on the other side, on the western side of Cathedral Square, it is not that damaged. When looking at it sort of conceptually, the western side of Cathedral Square is going to be more of an event space. So working with Mata Porpora, we came to the conclusion that it might be good to sort of leave this as it is and fix it up. It is also telling quite an interesting story because the pattern that you see on the western side sort of reflects the grid of Christchurch, and the Pautama pattern fits within that grid, and it's the new paving that we add to it. So it's quite an interesting sort of weaving of the two stories, but pragmatically it is just to save money. We will do the strip along the edge though.
Yeah, the border treatment
The
still
border
comes
treatment
through.
will still be so that.
So that part of Cathedral Square is not likely to get that pattern.
No, but you could see some more transitional treatments through that area.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other question I have is, are we any further in the conversations with the Cathedral around what they require? Obviously, we're going to be paving up to the Cathedral site, but they may need some more land to do their restoration. So have we got any idea of what's happening
Yeah,
there?
we've had several discussions, meetings with the reinstatement team, really good communications, I've got to say. It's more the point of can we actually, they've got low interest in any of the areas to the south and southeast, which has been clearly communicated. We're more having a conversation, can we open up more areas of their possession area currently? The area that you see is the triangle that you see, which is already heavily greened with the mature tree in. We're having conversations, is it feasible, is it practical to start opening some of those areas up, because that is a heavily greened area, so that will really feed into the feel of that place, of how that area actually feels walking through it. So they're the conversations we're having currently.
And I've got one more question around Aotea gifts. They've indicated that they would like to work with us in the phase 3 part to put maybe some of their columns in under the ground when we do that, the edge treatment. Is that conversation progressed?
Yeah. We've had a conversation with Richard Hansen. What we'll do is we'll align from both sides. So they are able, if everything progresses the way it will, or the way it should maybe, is that they can do their foundations beforehand and we can tie in our works with them building the foundations. They need to do quite a lot of work underground before we can come to the table, but yeah, we'll align that.
So we won't be seeing the work happen and then digged up to...
No.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Aaron?
Yeah, just to follow on from Yanni's questions around the greening. The consultation that was done by Regen showed that a lot more green than what we seem to have in our plan, including the opening up of a waterway on that side. There was going to be like the picture that Yanni's got there. So if that was the consultation done, how do we end up here and not need to go out for consultation again? Because some people might come around to see that waterway once we've spent $3.5 million and find it's a little dry. Yeah.
To be fair, the waterway was the first thing that we discussed with Mata Porpora as well, to see how important that was to sort of their thinking of Cathedral Square and their contribution to the strategy. It's a very expensive thing to do. So taking out the waterway was the first thing that we actually had to do. The greening, I think that's a matter of scale. We will still have that green space next to the cathedral, what Lee just mentioned, that might be opened up. We'll need to work with them to see if we can manage that for the foreseeable future. But we will try to add more green. We've had some feedback that it might not be enough. We need to find the right balance. We need to provide for vehicles that have access in Cathedral Square and that need to be there. But we also want this to be a pedestrian-focused space. So trying to get that right balance is a bit tricky. So what we'll do is try to add more green to it. But combined with the space in Cathedral Square, you still have quite a substantial amount of green, more than we had before, and it will soften that area quite significantly. We just need to find the right balance.
Okay, and then on the, and I know it's marked here as private property, and it's got the two larger trees marked, the one east, one west, and it's got their circles. I thought there's another tree on the west side. There was two larger trees there. Is there only one?
Is this in front of Aotea Gifts on 9 Cathedral Square?
No, there's three there. That's on the Cathedral private property site, the triangle, the green triangle.
Yeah, the large, yeah, so...
Because the plan shows one large tree staying there on the western end, whereas I thought there's another one there. There's one coming out.
No, we're not taking any trees out.
Right.
I don't see that on the satellite image. There's one tree sort of in that area.
Is it just one, is it?
On the more on the east side, I think so, but
No,
we're not taking any trees out.
So
and it's not our call anyway, as it's not our land.
Yeah, it's certainly a large mature tree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions? Any discussion? Sarah? Yanni?
Just quickly, I mean, I'm in favour of this going ahead, and I was at the committee. We do need to get on with this, which is our key civic space. But greening the square was one of the biggest bits of feedback we had for the Central City in the Share an Idea campaign, which a lot more people contributed towards than the region plan. And I'd like to think that going forward, to my hate, that we would focus more on that aspect than the car access. Thanks.
Yanni, was it Yanni? Yes, and then Dion.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I appreciate that staff have done the work based on the reality of the funding and on the need to get the infrastructure fixed. But when I read through the comments in relation to the region plan, things like the youth council, youth-friendly spaces, greening, having ability for nature to come back, and bird life, it just seems to me that this plan is putting in more pavers and doesn't really relate too much to the region plan. There's a few elements that are incorporated in, but it is significantly different. And so my main concern is that we haven't gone back out to the community and said, here's what we're now proposing, give us your feedback, because I don't believe that the things that have been addressed through region have been picked up in this plan. And if they had, then maybe, you know, I would have more comfort with it. So I just really will struggle to support this today. I acknowledge that the work needs to be done, but I'm very concerned that we haven't publicly engaged with the community around this, especially groups like the Youth Council, for example, who made a very detailed submission to Regenerate Christchurch, wanting to see more youth-friendly space. I totally concur with the greening the square, and I also would like to have seen a lot more greenery going into it.
Sorry, Dion, Pauline, Tim.
Yeah, I didn't initially support the decision to do what we're doing here, but I will support what we've the plan that we've got today. The reason that I'll support it is that the staff and people have been in touch and working directly with the businesses and everybody that's directly affected here, which is good, and the people who are directly affected here are putting significant investment into the city, and I think we need to get on and do this work. It really does need to be done. I'm not 100% happy. I'm a little bit frustrated with the regen plan the regen strategy that did come to us, which had a very high budget, and we don't have that money to deliver that plan, and I'm still, frustrated by that. And that set an expectation that can't be delivered. We spent nearly $1 million on consultation to do that, which could have actually enabled us to do phase 3 of the paving potentially. So I mean, that is a frustration that I have, but we need to get on and do this work. So I'll support this today, because the people who are investing in this area right now deserve us to do the work as well. Thank you.
Sorry, Pauline and then Tim. Sorry? Oh, yes, sorry, yeah, Tim.
Yep, that's okay. Yep. I'm going to support this today for a couple of reasons. One is the region plan, which was not everyone bought into it, but everyone understood it. But it was largely aspirational because of the budget required. So that's something to be really remember. I think our staff, with the restraints they have with finance, have done a really good job. But we've got to remember that across the road is going to be a building site for some time. And if we look at history, the last, the very first regen of the square many decades ago was a dog, and then we kind of improved it a bit. But this corner here, which we're looking at, which is the larger piece in between the Spark building and Destination Hotel, has been a heat trap for decades. And it will be interesting to look at that in the future. But at the moment, and where we are with the constraints we have, we do have to move forward. And this is a really good and practical way to move forward. And I think we've given our staff a kind of a hard job, a rock between a hard place, but they've done really well. So I'm going to support this. I think that those investing in these buildings around the square will be very thankful for it, and so will those using the square at this stage. So thank you, and I'll support it.
Thank you.
Pauline.
Most of it's been said, and I agree with what's been said. And it is about finding the balance between the regen plan, which was pretty much aspirational, and the budgetary estimates of that. I've heard anywhere between 100 million and 300 million to deliver that. So we have to find the balance there. And we also have to find the balance between the green space and retaining the functionality of the space and the operational costs as well. So I think we've struck that quite well. It's going to be really good to see this corner, the southeast, I think particularly, as Tim alluded to, it's never really worked. I think that big concrete barrier will disappear, which I've never liked. And I think it's going to be a huge improvement, and it's really important to get this done. It's going to start about July, and it's an 18-week project, so we'll have this done by the end of this year. And that, as I said before, the link between what's happening on the south side of Hereford Street, all that beautification there, Hereford Street being done, this part of the square, the laneways, it's going to link the whole square through to the rest of the city. So I think this is actually really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that done. So, yeah, happy to support it today.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried.